Okay, so we've made it to the last book in the series, Mockingjay. This book I had probably the most mixed feelings for. I really thought some of the things that happened in this book were the best and most impressive in the series, and other parts I thought were such a letdown and so just, I don't know, it's like almost like the quality of the writing went down. Or look, I'll get more into it as we go. I'm already getting ahead of myself. But I've got a lot of thoughts on Mockingjay. I've been doing these discussions in anticipation for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I'll start reading today, and I can't wait to see how the prequel comes across and what new things I learn about the world of Panem and Snow. But anyway, back to Mockingjay. So I really love the start of this book. I thought it had a really strong start. We've got Katniss visiting District 12, and we're completely thrown into the fact that it has been bombed, destroyed, everything is gone. She's in the wreckage of her home. It's a very somber mood, and it's kind of setting the tone for the book. This is the end game now. The Capitol's not messing around, and it's starting to affect the greater world of Panem, not just the tributes. We got rumblings of this in Catching Fire, but Mockingjay throws you right into it, and I loved that. We're wasting no time. I like that we're thrown straight into the fact that yes, there is a District 13, this district that we've heard rumors of throughout Catching Fire is a reality, and Katniss is kind of being brought back into this new to us district that is underground. Because of the weapons and power that this district holds, they're kind of at a standoff with the Capitol, with some sort of agreement like, okay, we'll pretend you don't exist and we won't use our weapons against you. Because the Capitol wants the weapons, they're kind of keeping District 13 as an option for later. So they've got like a sensitive agreement to basically have some sort of peace between the two. It's a good setup to see how we're going to progress from here. It was a good start. We got the despair, we got the setup of a new location, some new characters, and I was intrigued and I was ready to find out, okay, how are we going to actually put everything together to attack the Capitol? So from there we find out there is a leader of all these rebels that is putting everything together, more or less. We have Coin, and you don't get a sense exactly what she's about. She's very silent, she's very aware of what's going on, she's checking on everything, but it's all her assistants, of her team that kind of do the talking for her. So you see her in the background, and I was constantly thinking like, what's the deal with Coin? I wasn't sure what to make of her at the start of the book. I was wary though. I was definitely wary, because as soon as you have one sort of figurehead at the start of one of these things, I understand there has to be a leader, but just her energy was a bit, it was something I had in the back of my mind, like this could go wrong. I'll just make clear that I kind of didn't really remember how the series ended too much, besides the epilogue scene, which, oh god, we're going to talk about that epilogue scene. So we have Coin, we have Plutarch Heavensby, and we've got our tributes who have been saved. So we've got Katniss, we've got Finnick who has been saved, and we've got Beatty who has also been saved. We know that Joanna and Peter are both in the hands of the Capitol, and I was like Katniss, wanting to get a glimpse of what's happening with Peter, and the book doesn't take too much time to give you that. We see Peter on a live TV broadcast, and this is where Katniss starts to break a little bit, understanding what has happened to Peter. He's starting to look pretty messed up, pretty malnourished, and you understand that he's of course being tortured and coerced to say things on the Capitol's behalf. I really enjoyed this as a story device. I thought having Katniss finally separated from Peter for a good significant amount of time would be a great time for her character to grow, and the fact that we don't know what's going on with Peter, just getting peeks of it throughout the novel, I thought that was going to be a really strong plot device, and it totally was. So the gist of Mockingjay, Katniss is kind of turned into a figurehead for this rebellion, okay? She's the Mockingjay, she's the symbol that the people look to for hope. Basically, she's making little propaganda videos, little YouTube videos more or less, of her doing badass cool stuff to kind of flip the bird at the Capitol and say, come on guys, let's do this. As soon as they try and get Katniss acting and hyping people up, she is disastrous at it. As expected, she's not this type of person, this type of extroverted, flamboyant person. So we kind of follow how they're trying to ease her into situations where she's just herself, and they can get good footage of her and intercept the Capitol's broadcast to show Katniss and Gale and her team doing their thing. And I like that it was this kind of propaganda warfare, and I thought it was a great commentary on, you know, how current events work and how propaganda works, and seeing both sides of it. We saw, you know, the Capitol's responses to the propaganda. We saw Katniss and the Rebels and how they would intercept and make their videos, and I thought that was a very interesting take on the entire war. And it makes sense that it would happen like this. One of the strongest scenes in the book is when they're visiting District 8, I believe, and Katniss is visiting this hospital and she's seeing all these people that are basically on their deathbeds and being treated. People's lives have been destroyed and she's completely blown away by what's happened. Just her presence is giving the people hope, and she's starting to get attention, and we get a few connections with some of the patients, and I thought it was a really nice moment. As Katniss is leaving, there is an attack by the Capitol, and we find out that the entire hospital, all these people you spent, you know, a good chapter with getting to know and understanding the struggle, has been completely blown up and destroyed. There are no survivors. I was like, wow, this book is not going to pull any punches. This is going to be a dark tale of like a dictatorship and what they will do to keep that. I thought this was a very, very impactful scene and a very impactful moment. The consequences of this just keep biting away at Katniss's mental health, like the pressure to be the figurehead of something where the stakes are so high and so many lives are being lost. It really does weigh down upon her, and she's always dwelling and thinking about all of her actions because she starts to realize the ripple effect she has and how impactful she actually is and how important she actually is to this, and it starts to overwhelm her, which I also thought was very realistic and a very good take on this entire thing. Of course, a pressure, especially for anybody but a 17-year-old, this is extreme, and she starts to feel like she has no control over her actual life because she's almost like a puppet for the rebellion. And so she starts setting terms for what, okay, if I'm going to do this for you, you need to do this, this, and this. She starts to use her position as leverage because there can't be another Mockingjay. So she kind of bargains to try and get Peter and Joanna and other tributes back. So this was a great start. I was into it. I was really enjoying it. And this is where things start to fall apart a little bit for me. I know, of course, in dark times, you have these light, funny moments and you can have a laugh with a friend. Of course, these things happen. This is human nature, okay? But we had so many scenes with Katniss and Prim's cat and their kind of cartoony antics. Oh, she growled at me and then she hugged Prim and looked at me, and yeah, okay, cool. I like scenes like this. I like these lighter moments in between the darkness. But they kind of dragged on just these little exchanges that were just, it just felt out of place. It kind of like the tone shift was a bit weird. This might be a weird comparison, but it's kind of like in the Marvel movies where there's so many quips and like kind of one-liners that you're like, it just gets a bit much. It wasn't really like that, but it was one of those things that took me out. I'm like, oh, can we move on from just this like back and forth with the cat? I don't know, maybe this is just me being weird, but I just felt like that happened way too much throughout this book. Back to another thing I did like was Finnick. Now, Finnick comes across as a super confident character in Catching Fire, and you do see sides of his vulnerability start to show. And I really enjoyed in this book how they sort of showed the breakdown of Finnick and going into his backstory, finding out that he was kind of sold as a prostitute after being a winner, and you start to see a side of him that is so heartbreaking and so interesting. You know, just in his gown, making knots. You know, they are also mentally damaged in this book. And I love that Suzanne Collins went into the effects that these kind of traumatic events have on people. I thought that part of the book was quite strong. So after a few more propaganda videos, a few more adventures with Katniss and her team, they devise a plan that they're going to rescue Peter and the other tributes from the Capitol. More or less, they get Peter back, but when Katniss tries to greet him, he straight up chokes her and slams her into the ground. And I somehow didn't remember this from the movies, and I was not prepared for this to happen. So I was just as shocked and sad as Katniss when this happened. It was kind of funny though how you're baited into this very lovely reunion, and it is just not even just like uncomfortable. He straight up tries to kill her. Probably should be laughing, but anyway. I'm not sure how I feel about this, how they've kind of gotten to the Capitol's tortured him to a point where he kind of sees red. You kind of get the Kill Bill, like, red alarm siren effect when he looks at Katniss. And it's interesting to see this side of Peter that views Katniss as a threat and as a horrible person. The effect of her having to really kind of examine her actions and realize what she had, having now lost it with Peter. To be honest, I don't know how I feel about it. Something about it grated with me a little bit, but it's probably one of my minor gripes with the story. Okay, another gripe with this book. I hate to be so negative, but I have to be honest with my thoughts. So we have BT, the kind of tech expert, the guy who's hacking into the Capitol system and getting these broadcasts on. He made amazing traps and knew so much, was so knowledgeable in the last Hunger Games. So I was so keen to know what he's going to do as part of this rebellion. And Gale is kind of talking to him about how he hunts and how he kills animals, how he baits them with certain things they desire or things they love. And I really hated how BT reacts like, wow, Gale has shown me this amazing system where you can bait people and things with things they love and desire. I'm like, why are we acting like this is such a wild realization? And not like, for some people, perhaps, I don't know, but not Mr. Technology, Mr. like thinking outside the box, who's told to us to be like the most intuitive, smart, logical, awesome person ever, is like, wow, you can trap things by baiting them? Like, I don't know, I hated this. And the same thing happens throughout this book where kind of obvious connections are treated like really impactful epiphanies for people. Katniss kind of takes this and goes, yeah, I'm realizing Snow is using Peter as bait for me. Oh my gosh. And just like when they spell it out for you and make it so grand when it's kind of not, it just kind of felt like it was insulting my intelligence like a little bit reading this. It's like, come on, even a YA audience could connect these dots easily enough, you know? I think because the themes and what was happening in Mockingjay was so dark, when they kind of have these moments, it simplifies it to a point where it starts to lose its impact. Just my honest take on some of the writing there. So we've got messed up Peter, we've got Gay, we've got Katniss, we've got Finnick, Joanna's back, and we're getting to the parts where we're going to start moving into the Capitol. We're going to start attacking. This is when it picked up again for me and I started to really enjoy what was going on because I felt like we were progressing. I liked how it became less black and white, this whole conflict. Once they kind of find out that the peacekeepers, the kind of the guards that are in all of the districts, making sure everything's in line, making sure everyone's in line, are actually not from the Capitol, they're from District 2. This creates a certain grey area in Katniss's mind, like these people from the districts, but they're working for the Capitol, and I like that there's just a bit more thrown into it to make you consider things a little bit more. It's not so just like bad guys, good guys. There was a bit of grey which started to appear. I really appreciated that. I felt that that was lacking a little bit in the earlier books. There starts to be some innocent casualties, and Gale kind of has no problem with this, and it starts to freak Katniss out a little bit. He's like, well, they did it to us, why not do it to them? I understand where Gale is coming from, but I really started to dislike him. I get where he's coming from. You know, if you've lost people in a war, you kind of become heartless to a point that you just want revenge. But he just doesn't even kind of pause to consider the innocent lives lost. He's just like, well, it is what it is, let's go. Katniss doesn't need to be with this guy, let alone Peter, but definitely not Gale. Cross him out immediately. And I love this moment where Katniss is kind of trying to talk to these people that they're attacking, like, I don't want to do this anymore, blah, blah, blah. This guy is kind of like, give me one reason not to shoot you right now, like for killing all these people. And she's like, I can't. And I love that she straight up gets shot right after that by someone in the crowd. Realistic, and I like it when you set up a situation and don't save it by some hero coming in at the last minute, you make it real. She's wearing a bulletproof vest, so of course she survives, but it's good because they would shoot her at that point, in that intense moment where she has made so much collateral damage by taking out this section of District 2, I believe it was. So we're getting into the end game now. We're going to attack the Capitol. She's got a team together of, like, you know, special operatives. She's been trained. We're all there. Finnick's there. Gale's there. We're good to go. And I thought this was a great twist that the game makers has kind of rigged the capital city for the rebels that are coming in. It's kind of like you get your third Hunger Games moment in a sense. And man, do I love a good trap that messes people up, and there were some great ones here. When you realize that Peter's been put in their team, I knew for a fact that Coin was just as bad as Snow, that she wanted complete power, because there is no reason to bring Peter on this mission. He totally wants to kill Katniss. He has every opportunity to kill Katniss. He's such a wild card. And at that moment, I was like, no, this is going to go bad with Coin straight away. We get some crazy, crazy attacks here. We get these kind of humanoid, golem-esque creatures that start attacking our team, and this is where we lose Finnick, man, and it is so heartbreaking. I wish he didn't go with them. Like, he had just married Annie. He's starting to get his mental health back a little bit, and he has a heroic sacrifice to get everybody out of this sewer where these crazy monsters are attacking them. As much as it broke my heart, there needs to be sacrifice. You need to feel the loss in a book like this. This is war. Even if you win, you have lost so much. Anyway, this is where we get to probably the darkest part of the book. President Snow is letting children come into his estate, will keep them safe. Parents and families from the capital are kind of handing their children over. Take them, keep them safe, we'll do anything. Snow's such a smart dude because he's totally doing this to protect himself. If you get a bunch of kids around your estate, you're not going to get attacked, are you? Because, you know, whilst the rebellion is desperate to win, they're not going to kill a bunch of innocent kids. Presumably, right? We see a ship fly over this entire scene, and they start dropping what appears to be food supplies. As these food supplies are grabbed by the children, they explode, and it's a massacre. Bunches of innocent children are killed, innocent members of the capital are killed, people in the rebellion are killed. It's death everywhere. And as Katniss is kind of regaining herself from the explosion, she sees Prim running in, who is now a nurse tending to, you know, one of the fallen children. Another wave of bombs comes down, and explosion, cut to black, more or less. Prim is killed in this attack, and it is the darkest moment in the series, in my opinion. It is the ultimate loss for Katniss, the ultimate consequence of this entire thing. And I thought it was a brilliant choice, albeit a very difficult choice to make, to kill such an innocent character. So Katniss is in kind of like a nightmare state, so confused about what's happening. When she wakes up, she realizes the rebellion has won and finds herself meeting with Snow. And this scene with Snow is absolutely brilliant. Him and Katniss have a great exchange talking about, you know, the events that have unfolded. And Snow kind of explains, like, I know what I'm like. I know exactly who I am. And I don't kill wastefully. I kill very deliberately. And there was no reason to attack at that point. I'm sorry that, you know, Coin has done this to your sister. And Katniss is in disbelief, but you can tell in the back of her mind, she's like, this totally makes sense. And we get to the point where it's Snow's execution. Coin's like, go ahead, Katniss, with a big crowd around her. Go, kill Snow. You're gonna get your kill. Go for it. And Katniss aims right up. She always has one moment in every book where she has one epic shot with her bow. In this one, she kills Coin. She comes to the realization that nothing has changed. She's just gonna be the next Snow. Snow laughs like an absolute madman. What a legend, going out in a fit of hysteria and sort of euphoric joy that even though he's gonna die, no one's gonna take his place as like prime leader of Panem. Like, what an epic end for him. I can't wait to read more about him. Okay, before I talk about the end, a scene just before this, we see that Coin actually proposes having one more kind of honorary Hunger Games for people in the capital, just to be like, yeah, you get what you deserve, and then we'll have our nice society after that. And if you had any doubt that Coin was actually a bad person, the book throws this one in your face just to make sure you are understanding what is happening. Yeah, it's like these moments that make me feel like, oh, come on, you don't have to force the realizations and connections to me. Like, it's a bit annoying. Okay, this is where we get to right at the end of the book. I really enjoyed how broken Katniss is after this. We have a long time where you see how messed up she is from this entire story, and she's just trying to pick up the pieces of herself and her life and create an semblance of an okay existence. One of the strongest scenes was in this section here at District 12 where she's kind of talking to Prim's cat. The cat is whining that, you know, Prim is not around. Katniss starts screaming like, she's dead, she's gone, it's over, and she completely breaks down. This was probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire series, where she finally gets it all out. There's nothing to keep her guard up for anymore. We can just break down and accept this loss, and it is hard to read, and it is brilliant, and it was a great depiction of the loss that has occurred in this series. And the book kind of ends with her making some sort of a reconnection with Peter, him kind of coming back to his senses, and them kind of seeing each other and being like, yeah, look, let's try again at life. Let's try our best to get on with everything we have, you and I together. And I was very satisfied with that as the ending. I thought, great, it's a message of hope. We have that feeling of loss. We have that feeling of we can move forward together. And I thought the book should end right there, and I would have been fine with it. But then comes the epilogue, which, having had more time to dwell on it, I actually hate it. Okay, 20 years later, I'm with Peter. Now we've got kids. He annoyed me enough to have kids, and man, the world's different now, and how am I gonna raise them? But there's worse games to play, right? Winks into the camera, like, oh, I really didn't like this epilogue. The whole gripe I had with the book was over-explaining things too much, and I felt like this epilogue was the complete picture of that, where it just gave me too much information, left nothing to my imagination, left nothing for me to dwell upon and figure out. The fact that she's just having kids and her life's okay and she's trying, and I don't know, like, it just didn't feel right to end on that note. And that's, you know, that's all I'll say about it, otherwise I'll keep talking about it. So that's it for my thoughts on Mockingjay and the entire Hunger Games trilogy. I thought it was a really fun read. Some parts I loved, some parts I just really didn't. I feel like sometimes the way it was targeted for a YA audience kind of dumbed down some of the exploration of some of the themes, but I thought the overall story of an oppressed society and fighting back as a rebellion was very well done and very interestingly told, with this whole device of the Hunger Games being the catalyst for this entire story. Next video, expect a discussion on Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, and following that we'll be talking about A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So pumped to get into it. Thank you everyone who's been commenting. I really love reading what you guys have to say. I love having a chat down in the comments. Welcome to the new subscribers. Please do follow along. Please do let me know what you think about these videos and any suggestions. I'm very up for hearing your feedback and thoughts on how this is all going so far. I'll see you guys all in the next one.